just to welcome you, members of the press. Good morning to you. I'm sure you are aware that we were running two processes at the same time, but these were processes that are very interrelated. We were really collecting verified sale registers from the provinces because we are going to use these sale registers as our voters' roll. So it's very important once you want to use sale registers as a voters' roll, because they have to be accurate, they have to be verified, that the people that are written there with their names appearing there, they exist in reality, and that all their details are correct. So we had this process of collecting the sale registered from all provinces, which were supposed to be at head office on the same day. And I'm happy to report that we have received the registers from all the provinces. And obviously we have now started the work to sort them out so that they can be used by those people who are going to administer the elections. So that was one process taking place. But we also had another process whereby, after issuing the rules and regulations and inviting those interested party members to apply and submit their CVs to their respective provinces, that exercise was done. But what was of interest was really the response. You see, in the past, we used to require members to submit their CVs to their admin centers. And once the admin centers collect these, they will then take them to the provinces. A process that would take probably 3 days or 4. This time around, our instruction was that CVs must be submitted to the provinces. I'm not so sure how they organize the transport, but by Saturday, all provinces were awash with people wanting to lodge their CVs. And by after midday, we were getting reports that we have received all the CVs. Of course, there's the 1 or 2 which comes later, but the response was overwhelming. And then, of course, the following Sunday, the provincial coordinating committees reconstituted themselves to provincial elections directorates, who then have to go through all the submissions, and then they would make comments on those who were recommended and those not recommended. Those who were not recommended were those applications where they felt they didn't meet the criteria in terms of the rules and regulations, maybe in terms of age restrictions or the number of years in a particular structure. So that's what they did, and they finished in record time, although there were 1 or 2 provinces which had to finish the following morning. But all the same, there was overwhelming response across all provinces. And these have now been collected and lodged here at head office. Now, obviously, once that happens, we need to carry out a security vetting. So our security department has been working 24 hours a day to ensure that they go through all these CVs and pick up those that they think won't qualify in terms of this criteria for security. And this work has just been completed. I'm getting the report now that they finished. They are just making sure that they do the final check, the final inspection, to make sure that the work that they've done meets the quality that has been set. Now, there was a committee also which was looking at the complaints to make sure that we don't move forward before we address the complaints. This ad hoc committee met and went through all the complaints and also made their own recommendations on the various complaints that were brought to their attention. What will now happen is that the National Elections Directorate, which only meets when all these submissions have been made, submissions from the provinces, submissions from the security checks, and also comments from the committee looking into the complaints. And once all that information is there, now the National Elections Directorate can now meet to look at all these processes and then make its recommendations. It doesn't have the final say in terms of who should stand or who shouldn't. They make recommendations. And once they carry out that exercise, make their recommendations, these are then the recommendations that are then considered by the Politburo. And the Politburo has a final say. Once the Politburo considers these submissions and approves the recommendations, it means now it's game on, because now these candidates can now go and stand and represent the party. So all that work has now been done, and in an hour's time, the National Elections Directorate will meet to go through all these submissions. They will meet until they finish the job, even if it means tomorrow at midday, but let it be. They will meet and follow through and finish the work. Once they get in, they just don't come out. They just go in and carry out the work and make their recommendations, which then all that week will then be prepared for consideration for the Politburo. We had anticipated that by Saturday we would have elections. But as I said, because of the overwhelming response, it was not possible to get to that target, because we need to make sure that we go through these processes, the vetting processes, the meeting of the National Elections Directorate, which has to do a thorough job, and also to prepare all these submissions to be ready to be considered by the Politburo. And because of the overwhelming response, you see, you find that in some areas, you find that you had more like 10 candidates for one position. Others 5, 6, 7, 10, and therefore you need to do a thorough work to make sure that at the end of the day the decisions are arrived as a result of proper preparations to make sure that we get the right candidate at the end of the day. So because of all the work that has been done to be done, and because of the overwhelming response, it was found necessary that once this work is finished, and we believe Saturday and Sunday everything should be ready. And because of that, His Excellency the President has now agreed that we meet as a Politburo on Monday, this coming Monday, and this is a Politburo specifically to consider all the submissions that have been put forward and all the work that has been carried out, so that they can then finalize on the list of candidates. And once that is done, then we have to notify the candidates, those who have to stand and represent the party. And in the meantime, we are ready in terms of the logistics. The ballot boxes are there, the ballot papers are there ready, and the people that are going to man the polling stations have been selected, and some training is ongoing to make sure that they know what they have to be done. So everything is all systems go. We just have to get the final say of the Politburo on Monday, and once that is done, we will then carry on. I cannot say whether the elections are on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, but elections will be held after the Politburo meets. But which day, I can't tell. All right, so we are looking forward. We're excited because all preparations have been done, and we believe it will be very, very exciting elections. And as I said, I was quite surprised because of the overwhelming response. You find it's across. Normally you have women have always participated, they've always been active, but this time around, women are not just vying for the women's quota. They are also contesting the men in those various constituencies, which are also very interesting. So you find there were also young people very much interested, contesting with the men and also contesting for the youth quota, which is a recent development. The same goes for the local authority. Obviously, because on the senatorial you don't have much of that activity because of the requirements. It's more of very senior people, people who have been in the central committee, and you don't find a lot of these activities. And in some cases you find candidates who have come forward for senators don't have much of contestations, but it's more on the local authority, House of Assembly, women's quota, youth quota, that you find there's quite a lot of interest. But this is good. And in the past, we used to say to our candidates, please don't campaign before the approval from cabinet. But because candidates were saying, look, the date is Saturday, we can't wait for the announcement. They are already campaigning. They've always been on the ground anyway. And there's a lot of activities, and there's a lot of running around, and people, which is good for the party. It's good mobilization because it means the party is alive, the party is active, and that the members of the party are interested to take part and be considered for position, because every party member has a right to come in and say, look, I want to be considered for this very position. And I think the Politburo this time had to re-look at some of the regulations and rules to say, look, let's remove those aspects or clauses that tend to close out people. Let's remove so that we open up, and all those who want, let them come in, and the people will decide whom they want. And that's democracy at its best. So I think that has been the process so far. So even when the National Election Directorate meets, they are not meeting to say why so-and-so is there. They are meeting to see those people whom they say not recommended, to say, should they not be really be considered? So it's to make sure that those people where the provincial election directorate had said so-and-so probably not suitable, then the National Election Directorate want to make sure whether it's really authentic, whether it is right to do so that we open up, so that we have people who want to take part really to come in, so that the people on the ground are the people to decide whom they want to represent them. And that's, I think, what we are excited about, the developments in the party, because everyone who wants to participate is allowed to come and participate, as long as you meet those requirements which everyone is agreeable to. Okay, so thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again once we know who is standing in which constituency, and when we announce the results as time moves on. Thanks very much. There might be some of you who have got questions. Please feel free to ask.
Anyone with questions? Please tell the media that you are representing and your question. Interestingly, Honorable, even journalists are also contesting. I have seen the posters of the likes of Tendai Mnengwa, And Bruce for 2028.
Correct.
Right, questions time. Yes.
My name is Robert from Conical Production. Has there been any cases where a single candidate has submitted their CV for a particular post, and do we have automatic entries in those cases? Which ones are they?
I wouldn't know offhand. They are particularly in senatorial positions, where people would want to be considered for senatorial positions, and there's been only one candidate. But in most cases, it's probably two or one. But I wouldn't tell offhand which positions and in which province. But there are cases where you have a single candidate in a position, but mainly in senatorial positions. In mostly of your House of Assembly and local authorities, there are more than one. And as I said, in some cases there are 10 people to a position, 7 people to a position, and all jockeying for one position.
Okay, my name is Dalu Zonkazi from National Response.
Speak out loud.
Okay, I would like to get a comment regarding the allegation that is leveled against some members that they are thwarting opposition preparing to go into the primary elections uncontested. And also, there have been also allegations leveled against some of the Mbingas that they are buying for that Pakutenga votes kuti mapindi mu primary.
What we have said is that whoever feels that he or she has been treated unfairly or has been blocked from participating, they should lodge their complaints in writing. You recall I was telling you about a committee that has been working flat out to look at complaints. It's because whenever you have a competition, whenever there is a race like this, you also have people who come out in the end to say they've been treated unfairly. And as a party, we would want to listen to those complaints and attend to those complaints. And where we have found that those complaints were genuine, that someone probably has been blocked or some CV has been refused, we have taken those CVs on board, so that these CVs are going to be considered like any other CV. So we are very free, open for those complaints to come either individually or collectively. And it's entirely upon those who have been unfairly treated to come forward. But we have also have cases where people come with a complaint that has nothing to do with him or her, and say, so and so has been. We don't actually want to entertain third-party complaints. We want people who come and say, look, I have been treated unfairly. This is what has happened, and in writing, so that we can investigate and then we can adjudicate properly. Thank you.